it's amazing when you talk to people that have gone through this, because they have this. It's like when you face your mortality, and the end of the road or the end of the book is coming.
Yeah.
You really take that soul inventory and that check, that internal check, and when you defeat it and you move past it, the people like you, there's a certain strength that they have. This invincibility kind of thing, or at least that's the perception I get. I don't know. Maybe you might disagree or whatnot.
Yeah. Well, another thing that that was really beneficial for me, when you're diagnosed with cancer, one of the first things that happens is you have that fight, flight, or freeze response, and So I just recall the experience of freezing. And it was like I was only operating with half a brain, because it was really hard to think clearly of everything else, knowing that I had this cancer diagnosis. Yeah. So one of the good things is I get a lot of calls from women who are using Michelle's Place Breast Cancer Resource Center. Shout out to them. And so I get a lot of calls from women who have just been diagnosed and need to understand their insurance. And so I have been in their shoes, and I get to say, okay, first thing you're going to do is you're going to breathe. Before we keep talking, just take 2 really deep breaths for me so that you can remember what we're talking about. So anyway, that whole freeze experience is a big deal. The other thing is, even though I was very accepting and I was leaning in and, honoring the experience and all of that, cute, wonderful stuff, I still had the experience of the little voice, the little cancer voice, every once in a while, of just whispering in my ear, you have cancer. Or the thought of, you might end up having chemo. You could lose all your hair. No offense, John. Just all those fears, all those what ifs, all that possibility. And I realized that I couldn't keep going through that. I couldn't keep dealing with that all day long. So I decided one afternoon, okay, look, I really don't have time for cancer. I have other stuff I want to do. And I have stuff on the calendar that I still want to attend and enjoy. So let's just focus on cancer a little bit every day and then be done with it until the next day. So I call it, I refer to it as I visited with cancer 5 minutes every day. And so I would start my day, it's coffee, get dressed, hair, makeup, all that stuff. And then I would sit in this one chair in my living room that nobody ever sits in. It's an antique rocking chair.
One of those chairs, yeah.
One of those chairs, just for looks chairs.
Yeah.
And I would have a conversation with cancer, and I would do it out loud. To me, that was a big deal. I mean, when there were big things to think through, I articulated it out loud. And so each morning the conversation would sound something like this. Good morning, Cancer. How are you doing? How did you sleep last night? Are you comfy in there? Is there anything I can get for you? Just a reminder, you're only here temporarily. I'm not planning on keeping you around. So enjoy your stay while you're here, but it's not going to be for long. And then I would talk about the things that I was thinking about or fearful of. I'd talk about the fear of losing my hair if I went through chemo. And in articulating that out loud, I go, but you know what? I could buy really expensive wigs, and I don't have great hair, so this might be a big opportunity to have the best hair I've ever had. And as a result of having that out loud conversation, I started a Pinterest board. And started shopping for really good wigs. And then the other thought was, I hate to throw up. I hate to throw up. So that was something else, something that kept coming up. And so I articulated that, and then I realized, I hear pot is really good for nausea. So I've never done pot, but if I have to go through chemo, I am totally going to learn how to toke up and smoke pot so that I can get rid of the nausea. Yeah. And so as I would articulate those things, as I would give cancer 5 minutes a day, I could check off those fears because I had thought through them and then created an answer for them, and now I could move on. And so at the end of 5 minutes, I would do okay, Cancer, that's it. You've had your 5 minutes. I have a lot to do today, so I'm moving on from here. I'll see you again tomorrow. And that worked for me. A lot of times during the day, again, the little voice would pop up. Oh my God, you have cancer. And if need be, I would respond out loud. I know I have it. I'll visit with it again tomorrow morning. And so that was super helpful for me. The nice thing is I have given my book to some people who are going through cancer. And for a couple of them, they're going through cancer a second time. And so this is, it's one of those, it's not their first rodeo. But that was something that made a difference. And just the concept of only giving a focused 5 minutes to cancer every day made a big difference in their journey.
That is, I think, there's so many good takeaways from this conversation, but that just seems like that would be so empowering, because I almost, when you were talking about that, I almost kind of view cancer as this little thing in a rocking chair kind of thing. And you're like, okay, like you're talking like it's the child and it doesn't have the power over you. Whereas I think a lot of, I could see where it could be easy to, like, it's this big, scary, ugly monster always attacking you kind of thing. But I love your mindset, because you just literally shift it and say, no, I'm in control of this. I'm powered.
Exactly.
And there's something to be said too about speaking to your body. There's lots of talks about that. Is that you're addressing it, you're talking through it, you're saying that you are going to get better. There's just some good things there. Yeah. That's incredible.
There's are you familiar with Randy Pausch, who wrote The Last Lecture?
Beautiful book.
Yes, and his quote is, I never can remember it exactly, but it's, we're not responsible, or we're not in charge of the hand that we're dealt, but only how we play the hand. And what I love so much about that quote is that he is a pancreatic cancer fighter at the time. He only had like 2 months left to his life, and yet that was his message still. It's, yes, I know, what's going to happen here, but how I play this hand is up to me. Wow. And so I think that is a big deal. We're all in charge of how we respond and how we react. I have no idea, what's going to come in the future. All I know is I can equip myself now for how I respond and react in the future. And so I have to share that with you.